You're listening to the Wellness Simplified podcast. Simple wellness tips to help you improve your life without turning it upside down. With your host, award-winning fitness instructor, nutrition coach, and wellness expert, Susie Fevens.
Hey, happy Friday, or happy whatever day you happen to be listening to this. It's just being released on Friday. It's been a while. It's been a while since I sat here at my computer and talked to you guys, recorded a podcast, and it's kind of nice to be back. I had intended to take the rest of August off and come back in September, but there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and I thought now's the time. We need to get back into routine, or at least some sort of routine, and this seemed like a good way to kick that off. It's not going to come as any surprise to anyone listening, especially if you're listening to it relatively recently after it's been published, but we are in a pandemic. Hello, Corona. And I know that a lot of my listeners are right here in Atlantic Canada, like I am, and we are pretty lucky. Our risk level, however you want to word that, is pretty low at the moment. As of the moment I'm recording, we have 6 known cases in Nova Scotia. We've been down to 0 a few different times, but let's not take that for granted. And while we're still maintaining social distancing, wearing masks inside public places, hand washing, and all the rest, as we go through these last few weeks of summer, I don't want to be a downer, but enjoy this time while we are able, because we don't know if or when another wave is going to hit us. I mean, it's pretty inevitable there's going to be a second wave, generally speaking, but we don't know how hard it's going to hit us where we are or where you are. So it's a wonderful time of year, mid to late August into September. It's often some of my favorite weather of the whole year. So let's just really try to make the most of it while we have that opportunity. And I want to circle back to that in a few minutes. But first, I want to just talk a little bit about me, about my business, because there are some changes happening, and I think that it's important that I'm transparent with that with everybody, and just sort of tell you what's going on. A week or so ago, I posted on social that obviously we're not going back to regular in-person evening classes in September like I had initially expected that we would. All the places that I would normally teach evening classes from are still closed. I have not had any indication from any of them that they are opening up at any time soon. I mean, maybe they're going to open up in October. Maybe they're not going to open up until 2025. Like, I have literally no idea. It's some undetermined time in the future. So I had to just tell everybody that in-person evening classes are not coming back in September, and that I was going to be transitioning a lot of my business into virtual. And then I'm recording this on Thursday afternoon, so Wednesday evening, last night, I posted to say that while this pandemic is kind of pushing me to make this decision, it's a decision that's needed to be made for a while, and that when that magical day does come and places do open up and I am able to have evening classes, I'm probably only going to teach 1 evening class a week. Now, like I said, this has been exacerbated by the pandemic, but it is not because of it. However, it is because of the pandemic that I was able to feel that I had the chance to make that change, if that makes sense. I don't think that was a very well-constructed sentence, but as you know, I record this on the fly, so. So for the last 12 years, prior to the pandemic, obviously, I taught on average 4 evenings a week, and a lot of that time I was also teaching Saturday mornings, and almost all of the last 12 years, I also kept pretty regular business hours, like 9 to 5. I would say that many times it was more like 10 to 5, but I also never really took a proper lunch break like you would if you worked in a place that gave you lunch breaks. Not all places do, I realize that. So I was basically working a full-time job and then going out every single evening and often teaching special events on the weekends and guys, that's a lot. It's a lot. And up until March, I was also a nutrition coach for a company, and that company required that we reply to all client messages within 24 hours. So I was on call always. Like, I was replying to client inquiries on Christmas Eve at 10 p.m. on Christmas morning. I never had a true day off. There was a year and a half where I didn't truly take a day off, even when I was on vacation. So there's been a lot, and I have left that position, and I think I talked about that on another episode here. And then obviously the pandemic, I quickly transitioned everything onto online virtual stuff, and I was it was just cobbled together. It was very much cobbled together just to sort of hold us over until we went back into in-person. And since we're 5 months in and have no idea when that is going to be, it's time for me to make a more permanent change. And because I've spent the last 5 months actually having some evenings off during the week, I've still been teaching consistently Tuesday evenings, aside from a handful of Tuesdays, and either Thursday evenings or Saturday morning, just depending on what's going on with my schedule. But it's been so nice. It's been so nice to have evenings off. I don't think I had any idea or remembered what it was like to have free time in the run of a weekday. And I know that sounds crazy, especially since I don't have kids, and I know having kids is a whole other thing, and I'm not negating that at all. But there was well over a year and a half where I worked at least for 10 or 15 minutes, but most days much more than that, every single day. And probably was putting in 50, 60 hours a week, really, and making less, earning less, paying myself less than if I worked a full-time minimum wage job. Finances aside, the real driving factor behind me making this change is my own health and well-being. I eat well. I move a lot. I do my best to manage my mental stress load. However, my body is continually under stress because of what I do. I exercise for a living. Way back in 2012, I thought I was going to have to give up being a fitness instructor entirely. I was so burnt out. I had overtraining syndrome. My heart rate was all over the place. It was just a big mess. I made a bunch of changes then. It wasn't enough, but I made a bunch of changes. And then over the years, I keep just changing little things, but it's still not enough. And having this time when I'm not going out every evening has really shown me that, I'm physically, I'm a bit of a mess. And it's all because of stress. It's all because of cortisol. It's all because my body is trying to protect me and keep me alive, but I just keep pushing it. And the interesting thing about virtual classes is while I have been teaching fewer classes virtually than I would in person, I'm actually still exercising more, because if I teach yoga in person, I'm not doing the whole class. If I teach a strength class in person, I'm not doing the whole class. But virtually, I have to. I can't just do one sun salutation and then just sit there and look at the camera for 5 minutes. I had to continue to do them, and it's very different. I enjoy it, but it is very different. And also, there's the whole energy aspect, and unless you have been a performer of some sort, and teaching a fitness class is a type of performance, I would say, you don't realize how much energy you have to expend when you're teaching even a live class to keep people motivated. You need to multiply that by 10. So if teaching a class, you use maybe 10 times more energy than the participants to try and keep people amped up and bumped up. Virtually, you're going to multiply that probably by 10 again. Like, you need to give 1,000% to get 5% out of your people when you're doing it virtually. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And even just a month or so ago, I realized as I was driving down the road, like, I was gripping onto the steering wheel, like I was going to rip it in two. And I wasn't angry at the time, and I didn't feel stressed, but my body is stressed. It's holding so much tension. It is ridiculous. So I've yabbered on about this for quite some time now, but the reason I'm making this change is because I'm not living in a way that supports my body and supports my health. And ultimately, how can I be the owner of the Wellness Simplified podcast, the owner of a online virtual training studio I call Well University? How can I be a fitness and wellness expert if I am not doing what I would tell my clients to do? If somebody came to me saying, I'm having all these problems, what should I do? I would tell them, you need to reduce the stress in your life. And for me, it is a physical stress. I need to reduce it. I don't know if you can hear Clara crying or not, but she's down there crying. Anyway, I guess what I just really wanted to say, and it's become very, very wordy, is that I'm making changes. They are brought to the light more because of the pandemic, but ultimately it's not because of the pandemic. It's because of me finally taking care of me. And somebody, and I can't remember who right now, and I really wish I could, on my Instagram post said something about congratulating me for respecting my body. And I was just like, oh, that's it. That's it, is I'm now saying, you know what? I need to do what I need to do for my body. My body isn't lying. Okay? You can't believe everything that you think. Your mind lies to you all of the time to stay in its comfort zone because growth is uncomfortable. Your body can't lie. My body is not lying to me. It is gaining weight, not like out of control, but I've been gaining weight while not eating anything vastly different. I know my caloric needs, my macro needs. I know activity, all of that. But my body's under so much stress. The cortisol is just like, we got to hold on. We got to hold on to the calories. We got to hold on. Anyway, your body can't lie. And if your body is telling you something and your mind is saying, no, that your mind's the one that is lying. Your body does not have the physical capacity to lie about these things. So I'm trying to respect my body and making changes that will help support me in a better way. And ultimately, you know what? I'm really excited about this because I think that is going to allow me to help support you in a better way too, because I am not the only one that's burnt out. I'm not saying you are burnt out, but I'm saying you know a lot of people who are burnt out. I'm saying that there's so many of us who are dealing with stressors beyond our imagination right now, especially parents that need support. And I have been training for literally a decade on how to support people through stressful periods. I know how to get myself out of this situation that I'm in, and I also know how to help you or the people you know who are in a similar situation. I'm fortunate, I feel, that my stress is all physical stress that I've put on myself. Mentally, I'm pretty solid. I mean, I don't know if that sounds cocky. I don't mean it to be cocky. I just mean that my mental health is pretty good. It's the physical health that I've been having more issues with because of what I do. And because my issues are more of the physical, it allows me the clarity that maybe I wouldn't have if I was having more of those mental stressors, to set things up in a way that it will help me and it will help others. And ultimately, that's all I've ever wanted to do, is help others. And if I can help myself while doing that for them as well, then that's even better. That's even better. So this is now basically the length of what my normal podcast episode length would be, and we haven't even got to what I was going to talk about, which was finding your happiness. But you know what? I think that this episode I think I'm going to leave that topic for another day, because I feel like this is a really important episode. It's important for me to kind of share a little bit more about what I've been going through, because I feel like everybody feels like they're alone right now, and everybody's going through a pile of crap, whether it is, no matter what it is, everybody is going through their own thing. And I also want to just make sure that everybody knows that I'm not like going out of business. Like the biggest change is the fact that I'm not going back to in-person evening classes. That is the biggest change. If you have been partaking in virtual things with me, there's going to be some tweaks. There's going to be some changes so that we can better support our bodies. But it's not going to be anything drastic. The drastic thing is that those evening classes are not coming back. And you know what? Right now, they couldn't, even if I wanted to. Even if I wanted to teach every evening in the community centers and places that I have been for years, I couldn't because they're closed. So again, as far as the evening thing goes, we don't even know what the timeline we're talking about is, so it's not worth worrying about. But even if I wasn't doing this for my own well-being, I would have to do it to some capacity at this point anyway, because the future is unknown, and the future is always unknown. But now it seems a little bit more bumpy than normally the future. feels a little bit less predictable, let's say. So yeah, I think I am going to leave that there for today, and we'll talk about some of those other topics that I was going to in a future episode. So I think what I want to leave you with is what I said just a few minutes ago, that your body cannot lie. And honestly, I have that written on a Post-it on my desk, and I just read it off as I said it. It's from a course that I took, something that one of my trainers said, just a course I took very recently. And the Post-it says, "You can't believe everything you think. Your mind lies to you all of the time to stay in comfort, because growth is uncomfortable. Your body cannot lie. It doesn't have the capacity to lie. It can't. And yet we choose to ignore those clear indications that something is wrong by making up stories or making up rationale in our minds to warrant what we're doing. So for years, I have continued with my evening classes, even though somewhere in my consciousness I knew that it was not doing me any good, because A, I friggin' hate disappointing people. I hate disappointing people. B, I love to help people. And what's a better way to help people than by having fitness classes, creating that community, doing all of that. C, I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to be a fitness instructor. I still do. I should be able to do this. I physically am able to carry out these classes, no problem. It's just what happens the rest of the time when I'm driving down the road and my hands are like grasping on the steering wheel, like white knuckled, not because I'm afraid, not because I'm angry, but because my body's holding so much pent up tension from all the crap I put it through. When I wake up in the middle of the night having another nightmare about being like chased by tigers, and not because I've been watching The Tiger King, because I'm like the sole person in North America who has not yet watched that, and then can't get to sleep for an hour and a half because I have so much cortisol going through my body. Like all of these things, just ignore that. Just ignore that, because I'm doing good things for people. You can't believe everything you think. I might be doing good things for other people, but I'm not doing good things for myself. And it's not so far as to say that it's putting your own oxygen mask on before you help the person next to you, but it's not that far off. So yes, this is where I want to leave it today, because I've already jabbered on long enough. But I want you to sort of think about that. What are those things that your body has been trying to tell you that you've been rationalizing in your mind? What are those things that you just say, "Oh yeah, I've just got a bad hip. Yeah, I've got a bad knee. I have a bad back." And you don't do anything about it because you've rationalized in your mind it's bad, It's no good. It's useless. So what's the point? Well, sometimes things can't be fixed, but a lot of times they can. And the sooner you start to reverse that, the sooner you can bring things back online, bring them back into balance. That's what I'm going to do. And let me tell you, that is what I want to help you to do if you need some balance brought back into your life as well. So stay tuned. More info is going to be coming out about the transitions, the new program I am working on, all of that stuff. And if you've liked what I've done in the past, it is still going to be very similar, just a little bit different and not in person. That's where I'm going to leave this. I've said that 17 times now. I mean it this time because we've passed the 20-minute mark, and holy moly, I don't think I've ever had a solo episode where I yabbered on so much, and I could go on for 17 more days, but that's what happens when you live in quarantine and spend, even still, like 90% of the time by myself. Anyway, I hope that you were delighted to open your podcasting app and find a new episode for me here today. And if you are listening in iTunes and would be so kind just to leave me a review if you haven't done so already, even just the star review makes a big difference, but a couple words, is always nice as well. Even if there aren't nice words, I'd like them to be nice words, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. And follow me on social media. On Facebook, you can find me at facebook.com/confessions of a fitness instructor. It's long, but it's easy to remember. On Instagram, I'm at Susie Confesses, SUZI Confesses. And the podcast itself has its own Instagram, and it's blah, 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 at the Wellness Simplified Podcast. The Wellness Simplified Podcast. Links are also going to be in the description, so you can follow them there. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you next week when maybe I will actually stay on topic. But you know what? No promises. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day, and remember, your body cannot lie, and you can't believe everything that you think.